Well, good day and welcome back to the show. We have an amazing show today. Incredible guy to speak to, a gentleman, a brilliant Brian Sathaianathan, if I have it right, originally from Sri Lanka. I feel like I have something in common with him because I too was born on that island, but back in the day was called Ceylon, Colombo, the capital city. And Brian is amazing. He's one of those American stories that I love. You know, an immigrant that comes in, recruited to do tech. Brian, welcome to the show. I don't want to blow your thunder. I want you to talk about yourself. I know you're in charge of Iterate.ai, but you have an amazing history in technology. And tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell everybody that's watching about Brian.
Thank you, CJ. First of all, great to be here, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate talking to you. Brian Sathaianathan. I'm a technology entrepreneur and have a technology background. I'm originally, as CJ mentioned, from Sri Lanka, and I came to the U.S. During the tech boom days of the early heydays of the internet. And
Awesome.
things were amazing back then because we were trying to get internet out to the consumers. So started working in Silicon Valley in the internet technology companies, and then I realized I have to spend and do my education and work in the U.S. company. So I ended up getting my grad school here done in the U.S. And then I also spent after that 8 years with Apple on their new products division.
Amazing.
Working on a lot of helping them bring a lot of new products to market. I worked on the first Intel Mac transition, which where at one point Apple was about 2.5-3% of the PC market because they were using IBM's chips, and they had to transition from that into Intel in order to
To
get the
make it
mass
happen, right?
make it happen. So was a part of that, and then later on, one thing led to another, and I got pulled into the iPhone in the early days of making the device, and
It must have
ran a
been
team.
exciting. It must have been exciting that you, and also the fact that you were part of this revolution, this, I mean, cutting edge industry. I mean, what I like about you, one is you're an immigrant, right? So I love what the United States has done. Is I love immigration because we get the brightest and the best of, in this case, Sri Lanka. If you go back home and you stay there, you will help Sri Lanka. We have you here. Let's keep you here. And I know with the world being as big as it is, you can go back and do a great many things, and I'm sure you are. But it's an honor to have you here in the States and working and helping continue technology and move things along. And the second part about you that's really cool is that you're an entrepreneur. At the end of the day, I think this is also another part of what makes this country pretty cool is that owning your own business, being a startup guy. I'm sure I don't know what you've been involved in, a few things I've seen, but I mean, you're on the edge. You're willing to take risk, and you're willing to invest in your skills and your intelligence and try to make things happen. So what are you doing, or what have you done since you were with Apple? What are you
Oh, I have a
about?
question before you
Hey,
leave
Henry.
Apple. Hi, Brian. Uh,
Hey.
you besides being on the design team, you were part of something that changed the whole culture of the world. I mean, I remember when CJ got his first iPhone, and I was telling Moya, our director, when I was on the radio and doing a side job, this 70-year-old guy who would have been, well, I'm only 3 years away from that now, but I thought, hey, this old guy came in when I was 2006, 2007. He said, this is a game changer. And I'm like, what do you know? And yet, it was more than anything he ever said. It's changed generationally how people are raised. What did you think you were working on back then?
And to Brian, what were you working on? I mean, do you realize where you were or what you were doing, or?
Or how it would change the world?
No, it's a great question. So I think what happened was at least from my perspective, most of us knew that this is going to be big, but we did not know that it's going to be this big, right? I'll tell you the backstory. What happened is that before, by the time we started working on the iPhone, um, before that, iPods had already has propagated a lot among consumers, right? That
Right.
was something that Apple never expected with iTunes and the music, and the younger generation were beginning to embrace iPods. So we actually thought that this is with a phone in there, uh, it's going to be big. We knew it's going to be big, but at least I never thought it's going to be this big because of the propagation was much faster. Because when I remember in the early days, we was looking at doing a few million devices with one select carrier. It was AT&T here in the US, right? And then maybe the future plans with even the future plans with even some of the foreign carriers were not even set at that time, right? It was all
Right.
it was very much like we're going to get this across the finish line. We knew it's going to be big, but I don't think any of us expected to be this big. And it happened real fast. That was the exciting part of it.
And,
Yeah.
and then at some point you leave Apple. What makes you leave Apple? Did you just want to, your own, control your own destiny in a sense? Or, I'm just curious. I'm sure you
That's a
could have
good
sat
question.
there for a while as some engineer type person making good coin for a long period of time, but you decided to leave, no?
Yeah, it's funny story, CJ. In fact, after I did my MBA, I did my MBA in 2004, and I was looking at like doing my own company because everyone in Silicon Valley wants to start their own
Yeah, of
company.
course.
If you go on a Saturday to a Starbucks, you see all these young kids, the 20-year-olds sitting together and thinking about the next big idea, right? So I started doing that with a couple of my friends. Even in 2003, it was funny because one of the guys who I started my first company with was actually a product manager in Motorola, the competing company to Apple, right? But for that 2 years, I never told him that we were working on an iPhone, right? And he was very mad when the iPhone launched. But it's this idea about wanting to do your own innovation, and it's kind of funny because when I quit Apple, I told mom about it, and I'm quitting, and I wasn't married at the time. So I told my girlfriend, my wife, I'm going to do it. She was okay with it. Then my grandfather, of all people from Sri Lanka, writes me this letter, don't leave Apple. That's the dumbest thing you can do. But I kind of took the risk, and thank God it all worked out well at the end. Yeah.
Well, parents and grandparents, they've probably been through a more conservative. I can't even imagine. I don't know what your grandfather did in Sri Lanka for a living. Can you share that? I'm just curious what
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
work they do.
Yeah, my grandfather, actually, it's funny because my grandfather grew during the British time because Sri Lanka
Yes, the
was a
colonial
British
times.
colony.
Yeah,
Yeah, colonial times, and he was part of the British colony. So he was a highways officer. So a lot of the Sri Lankan highways were built under his supervisory capacity. So he was one of those British educated gentlemen, spoke perfect English and also Latin as well. So he
of
would
course.
say things in Latin once in a while when he gets mad, and we.
But you can see why he'd want. You think about it. His grandson works for Apple. That's got to be like a touchdown in football. It's got to be the greatest.
Yeah, he
I'm
was
sure
very
he
proud.
was
He said
the most
everybody
proud
about
man.
yeah. He used to tell everybody about me working at Apple. It was
Yeah,
funny
my
because
grandson's an Apple. I would if I had a kid or grandkid in Apple, I would be bragging out.
Well, wait, because when he went to work at Apple, it was just the second-run computer company.
Well, I love that second run computer. Yeah, but he created it.
Why didn't he get a job with IBM?
Yeah, well, he's smart. He went to Apple. He's smart. But you started this company called Avot Media. Is that what it's a software platform or?
yeah.
Tell me about that.
So during that time, I saw the potential of playing videos on small devices, right? Because
Oh,
Apple
he
was the
saw the
first,
potential of videos. I love it,
right?
Brian. Go ahead.
Because what
Sorry.
happens is like Apple was the first phone manufacturing company to put a YouTube player, a YouTube video player on the first iPhone. At that point, YouTube will not even work very well on the iPhone because the network wasn't there to support that.
Right.
But Apple did all the translation, transferring all the formats and everything really well. The experience was really awesome. So I was like, we need to be able to make this type of capability work on every devices, right? And then I built a company that would take a high definition video that the studios make, and in real time it could convert that into thousands of different phones that existed, different formats, different screens, different sizes. And that's the engine that we started licensing to a lot of media companies, and we had customers like Warner Brothers and Paramount and several customers who were using the platform.
That's amazing. So you created this business. You probably have some partners. I imagine some of these guys around the table at Starbucks you were talking about, and this happens. Is that how it worked basically?
Yeah, and then the guy, the gentleman that I mentioned, Vubash, was my partner, and we started the company together in 2000, end of 2007, right? And then we begin to grow the company, get some customers, but then of course the 2008 financial crisis hit, so we couldn't raise additional money because of all the freezing of cash across venture capital and various places. So it's so funny because the very first of the 2007 I raised about $4 million around with investors, because I came from Apple and I had really great mentors, in the angel industry who helped me through that journey. So we raised quite a bit of money very quickly. But then the last half, I pitched at least 500 investors, and I think I raised $500,000. It's almost $1 an investor. But actually, I got rejected 499 times, and I raised, and a couple of investments worked out, right? But luckily, things worked out, and then we were able to sell the company in 2010.
So did the investors make money?
Yeah, some of them did. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to find out what he's selling today, because I think we need to get
Well,
involved.
I think we are going to find
yeah,
out about that.
I think we need to invest in whatever he's doing. He's the kind of guy that I think you just throw money at him occasionally, something's going to hit. I'm sure of it, right? He's got that, that charm, that little. Okay, tell us some more. What happens next in your life after that company?
So then,
you sell it.
yeah, after that, I basically worked for the company that acquired us to help build a video streaming business, because it was acquired by a public company called Smith Micro, which was basically in the business of selling software to telecom carriers, right? So we helped them build a video application and a video solution, so they could pretty much provide capability to mobile carriers. This type of solution bundled in mobile devices and so on. So spent about 2 years working with them, and then and then after that, I basically joined Turner Broadcasting as as a part of their media camp team, it's like a seed investment team working with early stage startups. Because I pitched 500 odd VCs, I'm like, I'm going to be on the other side of the table talking to entrepreneurs for a few years. So I ended up doing that for a while, and I also personally invested in a few companies, and I was a chairman of a company that I invested in, called Cover Cake. And then in 2013, end of 13, myself and my current co-founder, John Nodmark is a very well-reputed entrepreneur.
Right.
He started ebags.com, which is a very big trademark for bags. They sold over a couple of billion bags over 17 years, and you see those bags everywhere. And he comes from just like me, coming from Apple. He came from a big company as well. He was originally an employee of Samsonite, and then he pitched the idea to Samsonite, and they never bought his idea during the early heydays of internet. So he went to start eBags. So we were both sitting on a board in of all places in Ukraine, right? Imagine that. It's
Wow.
like, yeah, we were both I live in California, he lives in Denver, and then we meet in Ukraine because one of the companies that I was helping, I was working with at Turner during that my Turner career, that we've invested in, got sold. And that investor, who was an investor in that deal, he was originally a Russian, but he works closely in Ukraine,
Right.
and he was helping the local Ukrainian kids, like entrepreneurs, build an incubator, so those entrepreneurs could market their business in America. So he wanted American entrepreneurs to come and mentor them. So I basically, they said, you got to be in Ukraine for a few weeks a year to help them, and then kind of listen to their pitches. So we went and did that. And then at nights we had a lot of time where we had nothing to do, and it was cold, and and John and I, being very kind of very nerdy and intellectual, we sat together and talked about how business is doing. And then we figured out there are a lot of startup companies that are out there that are struggling to get traction with larger companies, right? They're not struggling to get investment dollars, because there are enough investors and angel investors who are putting money in these companies. But these companies are struggling to get traction with commercial enterprises, sell licensing and selling their software. So we said we got to start a company helping doing this. And that's how the early days of Iterate got started. And eventually we became a software platform after a while. But it all started with the aim of helping entrepreneurs.
That's awesome. And that is, I think, one of the most important things that you can do, in my opinion, is to inspire young people to take risks, calculated risks, to follow their dream and inspiration, to build what they can and create what they can. Right? I mean, that brings progress and makes changes in the world. And my gosh, you're at the cutting edge of that. So what happened after that? What's the next step for you, Brian?
So during the time, I was sitting in a couple of boards, investing in companies, and also during the time, John and I said we got to start a company, and we ended up starting Iterate. So then, at that point, our first customer was Capgemini, the big consulting company. So they were talking to a lot of their enterprises, trying to. That was the time of 2015, 16 timeframe where digital transformation was going crazy, right? All these large companies were hiring chief digital officers. So chief digital officers are basically senior leaders who are purely responsible for digital applications,
Right.
everything online, everything on your cell phone, everything that has to do with digital usage of whatever the traditional businesses software is, right? Say you have Chipotle, or you have, like, let's say anything, Chick-fil-A, or what, any company, right? But the company has a digital application, it has a digital face, right? So these chief digital officers were very excited about bringing their traditional business on digital. So we were helping a lot of companies during that time. And then very soon we realized we have to build a software platform that connects all these things together in a drag and drop manner. And that's how Iterate was born. So today our company's identity is that we provide a drag and drop software platform that helps very large companies and their organizations to build and deploy digital applications 17x faster, especially AI applications.
And that's continuing again today, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's continuing today, and we are about 100 people. Yeah.
really. So what's the name of the company?
It's called Iterate.ai.
And okay, so what's the pitch here? What are you trying to do? What are you doing? What do you want? What do you want from people?
Well, let's back it up just a little bit, because you got to let the audience catch up. We talk about artificial intelligence all the time. What is artificial intelligence, and what does Iterate do within that world?
Question. That's worth asking.
Yeah, great question, right?
Okay,
So
Henry.
let me talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, right? So artificial intelligence is the ability for machines to take large amounts of data, right, and learn how these data is connected together, and then it has the ability to basically tell you and make predictions, just like a human child would learn, right? When the child starts learning, it learns the word mom, dad, and numbers and letters and animals and colors, and eventually in the child's brain it can start to begin to make connections, right? Artificial intelligence is the ability to make connections in the machine's brain, right? That is essentially artificial intelligence, right? So for example, right, let's take a simple example of calculating a simple formula, right? Let's say, because we were talking about Sri Lanka, right? In Sri Lanka, you measure temperature by Celsius, and here we have that's the metric
Very
system,
nice.
right? Here we have Fahrenheit, right? The whole formula to calculate from Celsius to Fahrenheit is a fairly simple formula, right? But typically in the old world, before artificial intelligence, if you were to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit, you would use a formula. In the new world of artificial intelligence, you don't need to use a formula. You just give a bunch of prior data of all the Celsius data. If it's let's say 22 degrees, it's 57 degrees Fahrenheit. You just give all the data, Celsius and Fahrenheit. The system would automatically find the relationship if you give enough data, and find what the formula is. That is artificial intelligence, just for a layer.
Yeah, Henry.
Yeah, I've got a question, Brian. So you're talking about the artificial intelligence, and it sounds like it pulls all this data, but it's data that already exists. And you talked about a human child, and if you ever have a human child, sometimes they create something that you have no idea how it ever popped into their mind. Are we going to be able to get software that can take all the data and create something that isn't in any of the data?
So today, that's where we are going into the concept of artificial general intelligence and singularity and all those concepts, right? In the next 20, 30 years, AI could begin to do something like that, right? So today, even if you look at systems like ChatGPT, or even like the AI capabilities we provide, it can infer quite a lot of information from that data, and it could actually predict new 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 avenues, but it won't be as new as the human mind would predict, right? Just because if you take A and B, then you can make C could be inferred from it, right? It's like things that are slightly obvious it could predict, but brand new out of the park inventions, I think it's still not there. And I think
But
that's
it'll
where
get there,
we have
won't it? Someday it
we
will
still
get
get
there.
there. We'll get there with AGI and all the stuff that's happening right now. Yeah.
Well, it's just fascinating. It's confusing. I'm an old guy, and I remember no cell phones, no this, no that, no computers, books, and the technology is changing like every 6 months. It's just radical changes. I mean, even as a lawyer, our industry is changing. How we market, how we get people to call us. Before it was TV commercials and billboards, and now, and everything is changing. Now with the AI, I guess you can record your voice and your looks, and they can make commercials and do things. I don't know. For a guy like my age, it's frightening and confusing in a way. I mean, for somebody like you, it's exciting and there's a lot of potential, I'm sure. So, where are we going with this? I'm just curious. What's your opinion? I haven't talked to an expert like you about AI in the future, but where are we going as a world, as a society with AI and these things that you guys are doing?
See, I think in the next 10-15 year horizon, I think AI is going to be super valuable, and it's going to make it's going to enrich all of our lives, right? Because today there is a lot of menial tasks that people have to do, like but AI has the ability to automate some of those capabilities for us. Like today, when the time you like come to work, somebody told me, like, hey, I need this help in this thing, so I had to like do research on all these topic, right? But AI will actually summarize a lot of content for you, right? It allows you to go through a lot of data. It allows you to like write
Crunch.
documents, plans, right? A lot of those things can become fast, especially as a startup founder. It gives me a lot of a lot of capabilities to
Well,
be
I
super
think we
productive.
have a video example of something Iterate does.
Yeah.
That you were at the Consumer Electronics Show for 2024, and you were a partner with Intel. Is that how a proper way to describe it?
Yeah,
Where
Intel's
they
one of
had
our
you
first
present how they work with you,
yeah.
and
That's
just
it.
one of your many products. Do
Yeah,
we
it's one
have
of
that
our
video? We can take a look at it. You can
Absolutely. Let's
ask us
rock
to
it.
pause wherever you want, and we will, and you can elaborate, or CJ can ask questions.
I'm going to show you a demo of a drive-through automation all running on top of the Intel CPU. We are going to be demoing you Kraft Burgers, a drive-through ordering system that's built on top of our Intel platform, on top of our Interplay platform, on top of Intel. By using this application, one can order burgers. The LLM will automatically begin to upsell you. You can remove, swap, or even begin to ask for options as you're ordering products, and essentially have a natural conversation. And all these things we are running on top of a Llama 7B model. We have even tested this with the Llama 13B model as well. What is super exciting here is everything that I'm going to be showing you runs on top of CPUs, on top of Intel CPUs, right? We're actually going to be running a non-fine-tuned base model, a Llama model, just to show you an apples-to-apples comparison. We did this all in CPU because CPUs are cost-effective, and IT teams are very comfortable deploying solutions on top of CPUs. OK, now let's go order some burgers.
Pause just for a second.
Hi there. Welcome to Housecraft Burger. I'm Bree. What would you like to order today?
Can I get a bacon burger, please?
Of course. We have a delicious bacon burger available for $5.09 or as part of a combo for $6.29. Would you like to try that, or would you like to customize your burger with some of our toppings?
Sure, I'll get it as a combo. And can I also get a big burger to my order as well?
Absolutely. For $6.89, you can get a bacon burger combo that includes a big burger. Would you like to try our classic burger or our black bean burger as your big burger?
Sure, add that to my order.
Great, I've added a bacon burger combo with a big burger to your order. Your total comes out to $13.68. Would you like to try our cookies or cream shake to go with your meal?
No, I think I'm good. I'm done. Bye.
So you did this.
Yeah.
You create that.
Yeah, my team created it. Yeah. In
Amazing.
our platform.
You know, I don't think I'm qualified to talk to him. I'm just a lawyer.
Well, I'll talk to it. Brian, how long until we actually see that at the place we're going to order the craft burger?
I think a lot of folks are right now trialing this type of solution, and some of, I mean, not us, but some of the other companies have already deployed solutions in a few stores. You begin to see solutions in the next 8 to 12 months, and you will be end up talking to a large language model or a generative AI on the other side. Yeah.
And when you gave that demonstration in front of must be a very sophisticated crowd if Intel's putting you in front of them, and after you went back and looked at it, in your mind, what did you say? I wish it would have done this for that crowd.
No, I think it would have been good if we can, if you could have had it not only order but also do other cases, like for example, like returns and deli, and I would have, it would have been great to show a few more cases, right? Because burger was just one of the cases. But imagine in retail today, every day you go to a store, you are at a deli at one of these grocery stores. There is only one person, sometimes that person is making sushi, and you stand for 20 minutes. Imagine you can place your order in an LLM, right? Return, look at, like, when you go into a large big box store, like how long does it take to do a return, right? You're in long lines.
Do,
So
do you
those,
worry? Do you worry about how that's going to affect people and work and so forth, or you just don't even focus on that? You're just, I mean, do you ever think about that ethical part of it, or does it?
no, I do worry. I mean, we are a very people conscious company. I don't know if you know this. We actually have outsourced a complete weapon detection model using AI. So in schools, kids are getting shot and all these gun violence is happening.
Right.
We have actually given it away free, a complete weapon detection model, right? So we
Wow.
do care about users. The one of the things, though, in delis and even in drive-throughs, these systems are not necessarily to replace them, but rather to augment them, because the way these things are built is, at any given time, a human can take over if a conversation goes wrong, or if they are back to their terminal, right? This is the time where, when they are packing, because typically a lot of these places are understaffed, significantly understaffed, right? So this alleviates some of the workers to, instead of doing 8 things, they do 5 things. This kind of, the automation helps them to not deal. And also the other problem is, in a lot of these places, the menus and the prices change so frequently. So in this scenario, the machine will handle all the changes and allow the worker to do something that's more stable. Right.
I'm curious. You're part of the future, and the present. If you were advising a young person what they should do when they grow up, what they should study, what they should be, looking into the future as you are. I'm already starting to look behind and not that far in the future. You're at the cutting edge. You're young. You're brilliant. You guys at your business are looking forward. What would you tell the young person to study, or if they wanted to go along with you on in this journey?
I think, my perspectives are biased because I'm in this field. I would
Of
tell them
course.
to study artificial intelligence as much as possible, because eventually, all these things would need repairing and fixing and enhancing. So don't become a programmer. Don't just become a software developer. If you become a software developer, eventually the machines will begin to write code. So, but become an architect. Learn how the AI works underneath, right? So that's one area. The other is the human experience, the connections that you and I have. You and I just had a chat and you told me you're from Sri Lanka, and suddenly that changed how we interacted, right?
Yeah.
The human machines can never learn this type. They could learn, but it wouldn't mean enough to them until they have feelings and emotions, right? So wherever you have businesses where humans have to interface, learn those businesses really well, because human interface being an expert on human interface is going to become very important.
More so because you'll have the backup of the machines to do the actual heavy lifting, I guess, huh?
Yeah,
You're so
yeah.
brilliant, Brian. I mean, it's amazing. So, where do you go from this with your company, Brian? What do you want from the average guy or me or anybody else? What do you want from us? I mean, you're here sharing your story.
So I
We'd like
think
to
I think
do.
one of them is like, I mean, I'm a strong believer in the human spirit, right? I mean, a
Right,
lot of people talk about when they talk about technology, they talk about the apocalyptic world, where everything would just break and burn and die and blow up, right?
right,
Uh, I mean, I think that possibility exists, but part of me believes that if we all as humans work together and embrace and learn technology and use it for good, because technology is a tool. You can use it for good or use it for bad, right?
I,
Let's
I
learn
have
and
to say
understand it.
that I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brian. Finish your thought.
No, what I've meant to say is like learn the technology to a point where you have enough understanding. You're not depending on somebody else's explanation, where you can determine in your own mind how do you use it for good, right? That's one of the ask I have all consumers and all you guys, right? Now from the digital leaders and large company leaders who
right.
are looking at or listening to this podcast, well, talk to us, use our products, we'll make your life better.
Well, and that leads me to I was going to tell people, of course, across the bottom, I don't think Brian can see it, but the banner on our video has Iterate.ai. And if you go, Moyo has the website up on our side of the camera here,
Right.
and we're looking at all the different products. There's things that they do at Iterate.ai that you wouldn't imagine you would need something for, because it's just common activities in our life, but they have solutions to change how people are going to interact with that. So I would suggest people go there and look at all of them. And also, one of the things that CJ has to deal with is when he puts on his personal injury lawyer hat
Yeah.
or tie, is, some people, in fact, myself, had a hit and run driver. And one of the things that you have a solution for doesn't just take care of that, but has a broad aspect of it, is the license plate scanning, things that we would never have thought it would be used for.
Yeah, there's. I mean, if you think about it, everything that we've done traditionally is changing. Marketing, how we market, and technology, and in my field, it's they're using equity money now. It's big money to market, to get the cases. It is fascinating how everything is changing. And then I was thinking, like, how does AI work when as a lawyer, if I need to research or write papers or look at different laws? I mean, I can't even fathom what you're doing, Brian, and your team, how you're changing everyday little things into making it easier and less complex, and it's really fascinating. I feel that I should have been able to do something with computers and AI and the technology. I think what you've done, Brian, is remarkable. I always say, what have you done in your life? Are we here just to eat, make money? Are we just here? I mean, what is our purpose? I hate to sound like that, but
Yeah, you should have been part of that conversation an hour ago.
yeah, like, what is our purpose here? But you,
Yeah.
Brian, and the folks that you work with do remarkable things. My God, you really leave a mark in society. I just hope that the political class in our countries can work to use this technology in a positive way. You've been referring that a bit, and look, Congress doesn't even know how to. I mean, I saw they had all the leaders of Facebook and this company, that company. They're supposed to write the laws that would improve and protect our country, the world, and I don't think they're even capable of understanding what you guys are doing and the changes that are coming. And whatever they implement, it's going to be done too late. I'm very worried about it. I think we have to do, Henry, is get Brian elected to Congress or something, and then maybe only
No,
then we'll
I want
see
him
the
to keep
positive.
doing useful stuff. So,
maybe
Brian, I've got a question about Iterate.ai. Because in your demo and in other places when I've looked on the website, you talk about the fact that your software runs on CPUs, which I guess is as opposed to, is it GPUs that NVIDIA, the high-end stuff that most people think of when they talk about AI?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So what happens is, typically, if you look at depending on what you're using it for, some case our software runs on both CPU and GPUs. It runs on both. But what it can do is it can run these large language models, depending on the large language model, on CPUs as well. What it means is, if you are using this in a drive-through, or if you're using this in a convenience store, now you don't need to all that compute, right? And along with compute, there is power, storage, all those things are there, right? The more you store, the more compute you have, the more power you take, and then less green you are, right? CPUs have been deployed for years and years and years, and IT teams are very familiar with deploying it, right? The thing that you're showing here is really cool. This is called AI Glossary. This is a thing that we built because we want to educate everyone on AI. There are over 1,000 pages here that describes you various terms of AI, and it's a little tutorial that gives you allows anybody, the common man and the layman, to learn about AI. This section of our website is built for consumers and everyone to learn not just about our products, but to learn about AI, and we encourage everyone to do so.
Brilliant, brilliant. You know what? I think I have to sit down and spend some hours going through the glossary and figuring things out, because Brian, you've really woken me up to the future. Obviously, we know about it, but you're on the cutting edge of everything, and of course, your company is amazing. I'm sure I've got to figure out how to make it apply to help me with my business.
Yeah. When is it going to be ready to intake clients?
You mean to say
for his law? Answer the phone and intake clients.
Yeah, actually, like, there are applications that can do that, right? Today, like, there are sales applications. Like, in fact, we had a bot written for one of the customers, which actually does it'll talk to customers, and then it'll do triaging, right? And in fact, for the legal side of things, we have an application called GenPilot, where you can upload all your old cases, and then you can basically look at precedents and ask very specific questions, and it'll respond to you. Yeah, it's built on top of a drag and drop.
Someone to beta test that?
I'm sure we'll give it to you. Yeah, I'd love to give you guys to play with it. Yeah.
Amazing. I just when you were a young man growing up in Sri Lanka, did you envision your life to be as it's turned out? I mean, was this something that you sort of like pre-planned, or did you know where you were going?
No, I think I never planned it, but I always wanted to do fun things and things that kept me exciting, right? So I always wanted to do that, and especially like I happened to like discover computers completely by accident, because my dad was working for an organization that they were printing magazines, and then they wanted to do the magazines in the local languages, and it didn't quite work, and the software was too expensive, and they couldn't afford it. So I spent time writing the software, because to do it just by myself, reading on and learning by myself from library books and things like that. And I kind of got into the whole thing by just an accident, but once I got into it, I got super excited about it. But then over time, I never really thought or planned. It's just being at the right place and just working hard through it, I think. Yeah.
I'm just curious, if you go back to Sri Lanka, do you think that a lot of the young people there are focused in this kind of technology? And when most Americans, when they think of Sri Lanka, they might say, oh, they have industries that make clothing. It's a center of tea. They don't think necessarily technology. Is there a growing technology industry there? I mean, where people like you are coming from, or
Yeah, there is a good growing technology industry. Even when I was going to school 20 years ago, there were at least like 3 or 4 universities producing a good amount of students. Now there's a lot of foreign universities as well. In fact, we do have a team in Sri Lanka that works with us at Iterate. We have about, I think, 22 or 23 people there.
Yeah, you're not going to believe this, but I have an office in Colombia, in Barranquilla, and we use local folks there that are amazing students, young people, brilliant, that have great work ethic. I'd imagine the same thing in Sri Lanka. I mean, you probably can recruit and get. I see your strategy of your business. It makes sense. And to empower young people to come forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely. I think young people are the future of every country, including the US, right? And I think they are eager to learn. And in fact, we have a lot of young people. We hire a lot from universities, and then and who are technically capable young people, and then we train them, and it's been fantastic the last few years. Our recruiting strategy has really paid off.
Brian, I want to ask you that you're a father, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and as a father, and we're talking about young people, and as a developer of the iPhone, have you ever looked at your child with a phone in their hand and say, "Oh my gosh, what did I ever do?"
Sometimes when she spends time watching YouTube videos, and not only a phone, I also worked on a video company too. So like when I look at the kids, like I think I look at for young children, I look at interacting with these devices in two ways, right? The first is called lean back. The second method is called lean forward. Lean back is when you're sitting back in your couch or back in your computer and watching YouTube. That's basically the wrong way to do it, which means entertain me, feed me, keep giving me content, right? So that for young people, that's not a very good way to interact with these modern devices and so on. The second method is what I would recommend parents encourage their kids to do. It doesn't matter if they are playing games or games, or they're working on the computer. The lean forward methodology. Lean forward means I'm leaning forward and I'm working on it. I'm not sitting back and relaxing and having the machine, entertain me, right? So I always tell my kid, my wife's very strict, so she's like, you get X number of hours of screen time. So I'm like the dad where my daughter's got me wrapped around the fingers. So she gets her way through with me. So she's like, can I use this, dad? And so I always, the criteria I use it to evaluate is that, are you doing something in the computer where you are contributing? Are you leaning forward? If that's just entertaining you, then I'm going to stop your screen time. So that's kind of the philosophy I use,
So
right?
you don't
Yes,
care what they're watching, or if it's a video game, or what they just have to be participating. Is that what you're trying to
they have
say?
to be
And
participating, and they also have to be actively involved doing it. Like for example, like all these kids have a game called Minecraft. They all
right,
use, right? And yesterday, my in my daughter's school, they had a open house. So they were talking about the 13 colonies, and some of the kids actually, were building like these 13 colonies using paper and cardboard, just like how we
right.
built when we were kids, right? So out of the 30 kids, three kids, and guess what, all three of them are girls, right? Three kids built the whole thing using Minecraft. So my daughter built it on a laptop, took her laptop, and in the table, there were 30 desks, and in my daughter's desk, it was just the laptop sitting in. So the whole colonies were built using Minecraft, right? Not only my daughter, but there were two other girls who built similarly using their Nintendo Switch, and as well as an iPad, right? So it was amazing to see how kids, and especially girls, and I always encourage women to get more into technology, right?
What's going to
So
be
like,
left for men then? Because they do everything already. I don't, you know. But you are correct. But amazing, because I have a couple of kids. They're always on the iPad. I mean, to the point where, parents, as a parent, you want to say, look, you got to put that away. Even at dinner, they want to be on that. They're constantly doing something on the iPad. I mean, is that a bad thing in your mind? I'm sorry, I'm taking this advantage to
yeah,
talk to you about this.
it is bad if it is not if they are not using it to enhance their knowledge or add it to somewhere that it is educational or value creation, right? Some kids learn a lot of the stuff that they've learned purely on YouTube, right? A lot of these kids, like, they know more about politics than we do, because they're following all the things, right? You could also get into the wrong rabbit hole as well, but at the same
You
time,
know it.
yeah, kids are learning a lot about different things, like, like my daughter's done a lot of research about, like, various, historic events and things like that, by purely watching YouTube, right? So I think if it's a learning experience, it's good. But if you're just purely being entertained all the time, right, like watching some reality show or things that where there is no learning in there, and also like contributing, if you are building something in a Minecraft or building something using Scratch, those little games you play, things that you are doing, if your mind is actively involved in it, it's good. But if your mind is not actively involved, you're just like sitting back in the couch. Even before all this computing came in, right? In America, a lot of us, even all through the world, we discourage people from sitting back in the couch and constantly watching TV. The same problem is happening with devices, right?
I see my
So,
problem. I like to sit back and participate rather than get involved. Oh my gosh. Brian, listen, it's been truly an honor to meet you, and I'm not saying that because I'm blowing smoke. You really are brilliant, a wonderful human being. I can see it in your presence, and I don't know what any of this leads to, but to say that you're dynamic, you're brilliant. Your daughter has a leg up on everybody because you're her dad, and I'm sure you've done wonderful things, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do in the future. We'll follow you on your company and any endeavor. And for God's sake, if you're going to start a new company, let me know. I will put a few bucks
Well,
in
maybe
there.
he'll come back and talk to us again about what they're doing.
Well, I want to get
Absolutely.
involved. Let
Love
him
to
make
talk
me
to you
some
guys.
money one day, or I have to look at his products and his company to see how my business can benefit from it. And you are exactly. I can understand why your grandfather is so proud of you and your parents, because you are what I would love my son to be. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know where you end up, but what you've done so far is remarkable. If your life ended today, you've been a very successful human being that has contributed a lot to society and in a lot of positive ways, and you have a lot of wisdom to share. So I want to thank you for being here, and let's see if I get the last name right. Sathaianathan, is that?
That's right.
No, I'm
Sathaianathan, yeah.
Brian, let me know. Have it again. God,
You were doing so well there.
yeah, well, you know, Sathaianathan, I get it wrong, but Brian, it's been awesome. I mean, you are generally, I mean, it's been a true an honor for me to have met you, and I always feel that you meet people for a reason. I don't know if anybody will see this, but I know I've seen it, and I value this conversation. So thank you very much, Brian. Henry, any last words on this?
People are going to see it because we're going to be promoting it. So
Yeah, well, you know, I think they need to meet this guy. Wherever he is, find him and listen to his words of wisdom. You haven't written a book yet, Brian, at all, or anything yet?
Yeah,
Or you need to?
I'm writing a book on artificial intelligence and generative AI with my co-founder John. Yeah.
Good, but
So
put a chapter in there about wisdom and, you know, look, a lot of us would like to know where to go with this. And when we talk to young people, how to influence them to pick a career that's not underwater basket weaving, but something actually that will amount to something that can make a huge difference in the world, that they can be proud of being part of. You know, it's more difficult for somebody like myself, maybe, who is not active in the tech world. I don't see what's ahead around the corner. And I think guys like you and your partner and the people that you work with have a better idea of what's coming. And, you know, whatever you do, you should help the young people, I think about the future and where they should, how they should prepare for this, what they should major in, what they should be doing. And obviously, I think you can't teach entrepreneurship, but you can inspire people by what you do and showing them what you've done. I mean, you can come from anywhere in the world and be anything you want to be. I'm sure you believe that, right? And you've lived that.
100%.
So it's an honor. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, CJ and team. It was such a pleasure talking to you guys.
It was truly was exciting for me. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Take care.
He